Hello and welcome back to the Troglodyte channel. In today's video, I've put a Discord mod into Dark Souls Remastered. Now we all know the stereotypes about Discord mods. They're generally seen as terminally online, power-hungry people who are also, generally speaking, overweight and atheists. How does that translate into the world of Dark Souls? Well, I'll be 20% slowed and always fat rolling, resulting in these painfully slow rolls that you're seeing on your screen now. In addition to this, the Discord mod stats will also be nerfed. As you can see, minus 32 endurance, 0 resistance, and 0 faith. With minus 32 endurance, I will have the minimum amount of stamina and it will run out very quickly. 0 faith will obviously make it impossible to use faith-based weapons and miracles. And 0 resistance makes it such that any status effect procs instantly on me, as you can see here. As we know, a Discord mod's poor diet would make him very weak to poison and bleed. And to any Discord mods out there, I'm sorry, I know this probably isn't you, but this is one of the few groups of people YouTube actually lets me make fun of without age restricting my videos, so sorry about that. But with that, let's get into it and see if you can beat Dark Souls as a Discord mod. Wow, I have literally no chin. The early parts of the Undead Asylum weren't too interesting. It was basically a normal playthrough. These enemies are weak enough to where even a Discord mod can easily kill them. The interesting part came with the Asylum Demon. Even with getting the jump on him, I still couldn't beat him the first fight, although it was extremely close. I almost had him. But yeah, the Asylum Demon killed me like 3 times, which is an extremely bad sign if an experienced player is dying to the tutorial boss. This Discord mod might have some trouble. I did get him in a very close fight the 4th time though. After that, a bird somehow carried me to Firelink, and then a sad man told me to go ring the bells, so off I went. Oh, and I'll be playing as human from here on out. I don't think this really benefits me in any way, but he just looks like a big chubby baby, and it's just funnier this way. Younger viewers, tell me, does this qualify as a gyat? I'm not sure. Anyway, I started making my way up through the Undead Burg when I ran into a filthy capitalist. I think it's about time to eat the rich. A katana? Oh, I've killed a fellow weeb. Anyway, the enemies of the Undead Burg did give me a bit of trouble here and there, but ultimately it wasn't too bad for an experienced Dark Souls player such as myself. Before long, I had made it to the Taurus Demon. And yeah, he whooped me the first time. It was tough to get any sort of hit in without him trading with you, and that was not a good trade because he was doing way more damage to me than I was to him. So it was time to grind out a bunch more souls and get a bunch of level ups. But this proved to be a lot more difficult and tedious than I thought, so I went down to Anor Londo to kill some people who wouldn't fight back. Also in Anor Londo was Griggs, who gave me my first access to the Sorcerer's Catalyst, and spells will end up being very important in this run. So after a dozen or so cleansings of Anor Londo, I went back to re-challenge the Taurus Demon. My damage was much better this time, but ultimately he was able to kill me pretty easily. This was hilarious. It turns out the Taurus Demon's seething hatred for Discord mods was so strong he jumped off a cliff to pursue me. And this did count. He was no longer there when I went back. Next, it was time to make my way through the Undead Parish and challenge the Gargoyles. And this did have a few speed bumps, but nothing seriously run threatening. It wasn't that much worse than a normal playthrough. Miracles? I hate to break it to you, buddy, but miracles aren't real. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, Cleric Man beat my butt the first time. That bleed was tearing through my supple Discord mod flesh. But I came back with a much bigger brain strategy. Oh, maybe he can't get me here. Haha, silly believer. I have outsmarted you with my superior Discord mod intellect. I'm banning him from my server for preaching. Oh no, oh no, oh no, he knew how to get here. Oh no, oh! Ah! No, I'm sorry, I believe. It was okay though, I would actually outsmart him the next time. Anyway, getting back to the game, I ran past all the enemies to get to the Gargoyles, and it was time to fight the next boss. Oh god, what is that smell? This fight really did not start off well for me, and at times it was looking extremely bleak. I was dealing good damage, but I got cornered. Take a look. Yeah, no idea how I survived there, but I did, and once one gargoyle was dead, it was only a matter of backing up and using Soul Arrow to kill the other one, and easy peasy. With the gargoyles out of my way, I rang the first bell, and then I did a little bit of cleanup for some better items. I saved this guy for some better spells, and then it was time to make my way towards Blighttown. And the unfortunate part about Blighttown is that I would get poisoned in one hit by any attack that deals poison, and I would get poisoned instantly upon stepping into the swamp. But this proved not to be too much of a problem though. I am very experienced in this game, so I was able to make it through Blighttown without much of a hitch. In other news, Maneater Mildred saw a feast of a meal in this Discord mod, so she came running. Heh, nice try, but I like my women slimmer and 2D. But yeah, with 0 resistance stat, it literally just says poisoned the second you step in the swamp, no buildup. But I quickly made my way towards the spider's nest, and it was time to fight the third sexiest boss in the game. Of course, behind the Taurus Demon and Smough. And yeah, Quelaag was the first sign of real trouble in this playthrough. She has certain combos, like the 3-hit that you're seeing now, that are guaranteed to hit you as a Discord mod if you're too close when she starts the 3-hit combo. On top of that, if you're caught standing in the lava barf, you're pretty much toast because the Discord mod cannot get out of it quick enough. And you can't really get around to her sides for that exploitable weakness. Yeah, this fight ended up being a bit RNG dependent and fishy, but for the most part, if you remain backing up, you're in a good place. She usually won't get close enough to get that guaranteed hit. And I killed her after about a dozen or so attempts. After ringing the second bell, the path into Sen's fortress was open, and it was time to start making my way there. But first, I went around and got some upgrades for my existing material, and I wanted to get the large ember from the depths, so I had to kill the Capra Demon. But oh man, the Capra Demon was something else. I put like 30 attempts in at this point in the game, and let me tell you, this is excruciatingly difficult. The instant bleed that the dogs deal is so devastating. I was not even able to get up on top of the doorway, not but like twice in 30 attempts. And the run back to this guy is so brutal. Yeah, no thanks. I think +5 weapons is good enough for Anor Londo. Anyway, on to Sen's Fortress. And ooh boy, Sen's Fortress was absolutely brutal to get through as a Discord mod. Being slowed in this area is particularly devastating, and not just because the enemies are fast or have projectiles. In some cases, it's literally impossible to outrun the ball when you're a Discord mod. Like this section right here shows it best. I start running as soon as that ball is out of the way, and there is no way to beat the next ball. You simply have to hope that it flattens you in the correct direction to your benefit. Like here on screen, this is the time that I made it, but I died to this like 10 or 11 times before this. Yeah, this area was absolutely excruciating. In a normal playthrough, I can make it through here in like under an hour, and that's with getting all the items. Here, I was just running through as fast as I possibly could, and this probably took me 5 hours of frustration. Anyway, I eventually made it to the bonfire, and from there, it was a pretty easy time getting to the Iron Golem. Speaking of the Iron Golem, he was quite easy. He did kill me once, but the generally foolproof strategy of running through his legs, turning around, hitting him, and repeating was still pretty viable as a Discord mod. Before heading to Anor Londo, I did free Logan and later buy Soul Spear from him. It's going to be kind of necessary for the next area. Upon my first arrival in Anor Londo, the Firekeeper was already dead. I don't know how this happened, I have never seen this before, but the Gargoyles must have warned her that a Discord mod was coming and she promptly killed herself. Anyway, making my way through the Painting Guardian area, it wasn't too bad, except for what you're about to see. You gotta love Dark Souls 1 backstab mechanics. I made it through these guys on the second attempt. The key was to just tank their throwing knives and hit them with the good old Great Soul Arrow. This brings us to everyone's favorite part of Dark Souls 1. Yep, the part where the Silver Knights shoot you off of the roof endlessly. And this area was certainly a struggle for the Discord mod. I had to go back up the elevator from the Gwendolyn bonfire since I didn't have the main one every time, so that was annoying too. And I think there was no walking around this Silver Knight because I'm so thick I was gonna have to kill him. Haha, Soul Spear to the face! And just like that, I had made it to the interior of Anor Londo. Nothing could have prepared me for what came next, though. It's everyone's From Software favorite chub and chaser couple, it's Ornstein and Smough. And this was the point in the run where being 20% slowed and always fat rolling became extremely painful. Ornstein and Smough have really good synergy, in the sense that if you're running away from one, you're going to be running into the other. And when Ornstein's not attacking, Smough is. And being slow, fat rolling, and with no armor in this case was, as you can imagine, quite the detriment. Like, just editing through this footage, the sheer number of deaths and runbacks to this boss is absurd. I probably died like 50 to 60 times. Here's a quick rapid-fire compilation of a lot of my deaths against them, just so you understand my pain a little better. I learned after a while that the best way to beat them was to hit Ornstein with 3 soul spears, which is a lot easier said than done because he always dodges magic. I had died so many times to this boss, at one point I stopped to grind souls to level up my int all the way to 60, and I did do this. But it didn't help. Ornstein was still a 3-shot. And wearing armor was out of the question too. They would eat me alive if I was over encumbered. I just needed to grind it out. My first time killing Ornstein ended very tragically, as you can see. But I did develop some strategies as the attempts wore on. The best strategy was to walk to the right, to get Smough to walk around the pillar, and then try to quick hit Ornstein with a quick 3 soul spears. This was the best way to kill one of them in the first phase. And as you can see with the attempt, I got insanely lucky with RNG on that attempt that you just saw. And the second phase, when it was just Smough, actually isn't that hard. If you keep him on the other side of a pillar and just keep spamming homing soul mass, you will eventually get the win. You just have to dodge some slow attacks and you're good. The problem was, though, that the first phase was so hard and RNG dependent that by the time I got to the second phase, any of the attempts, I was like extremely nervous and liable to throw. I was eventually able to pull it off, and you have no idea how good this felt once I finally killed them. A wave of relief washed over me. It was amazing. It was euphoric. I love challenge runs for exactly this situation. Well earned point down, Discord mod. Next, for some reason I decided to kill Ceaseless Discharge, and he is slow even for a Discord mod. Like, he does big damage, but he wasn't even able to hit me because his slow attacks were just too telegraphed. Easy first try. I did try on his waifu's ugly-ass robes afterwards, though. Then, this nun lady didn't want to be my Discord kitten, so obviously she had to go. After that, I went to go kill Pinwheel. I needed the Rite of Kindling to make more bonfires warpable, and Pinwheel's required anyway, so I figured I might as well. But the area before Pinwheel with all the skeletons was excruciatingly painful to get through with the speed debuff of a Discord mod. People like to shit on Dark Souls 2 for just being a bunch of enemies in areas as fake difficulty, but my case in point for this game is this area. It's just like 10,000 skeletons all loaded up into the same area, and it's supposed to be quote-unquote hard. Anyway, after 2 tedious hours, I finally made it to Pinwheel, and yeah, he was no obstacle at all. Next, I did that cutscene where you get eaten by Frampt to place the Lord Vessel, and of course he choked on me. I guess Frampt really isn't the throat goat that he purports himself to be. Anyway, at this point, I needed to beat the 4 main bosses of the game, and I figured it would make the most sense to start with Seath the Scaleless, because I would get powered up spells through this path. And this area overall felt pretty normal, even as a Discord mod. There's no moments where there's something particularly fast that's gonna get you. And there's no stuff like in Anor Londo where you could fall off of the roof or something, so it was pretty easy, all things considered. Oh, I'm about to do an epic Discord mod juke of the Crystal Boy. Oh, yeah. So yeah, I had my scripted death, escaped from prison, saved Logan from prison, bought Logan's new spells, and then made my way towards Seath. And I know I'm skipping over a lot of content here, but none of it was really that difficult or interesting. The golden golems did meme on me a few times though. Oh, and the clams right before Seath were super obnoxious too. Eventually, I made it to Seath, and he's supposedly resistant to magic, so I wouldn't imagine it would go well. So how did it go? It was a complete cakewalk, and I actually think being a Discord mod was an advantage in this fight. Let me explain why. The most dangerous thing Seath has is the curse buildup that his attacks do, but while you're in the act of rolling, the curse cannot accumulate, it deaccumulates, and having an extremely slow roll allowed me to get my curse meter down, and the crystal attacks would end by the time my roll was done, and there was no way he could ever curse me, so I was free to just spam magic. He was kind of resistant to magic, but in the end, it didn't matter. That's 1 Lord Soul down, 3 to go. And I did go back to kill Logan so I could get his stuff, but after that it was on to the Bed of Chaos. And this section did have a few more obstacles than the Duke's Archives did, with one of them being Demon Fire Sage. And Demon Fire Sage did have a lot of ways to close the gap and a good amount of damage to get me a few times, but ultimately I was doing too much damage for him to be a real obstacle. At least Demon Fire Sage can take solace in the fact that he got recycled into being the Erdtree avatars in Elden Ring. Up next is the Centipede Demon, and he was much more of a problem than Demon Fire Sage, mostly because once he gets on you, there's very little getting away, and there's very little in his fight arena that can help you get away. Not to mention the magma killing me multiple times in my attempts to jump over it. He ended up killing me a few times, but he wasn't that hard. I think my attempts to run over to the other side of the boss arena like I did in my level 1 run were not the play. The play was to just sit next to the fog gate and spam spells at him, and eventually I got him with this strategy. After quickly making my way through the next area, killing some of those fire-breathing statues, it was time to fight the Bed of Chaos. And no, I'm not talking about all of those luxurious gamer beds out there. After an extremely slow surfing ride down, it was time to kill those ring thingies that somehow keep the Bed of Chaos alive. And this is the first time I ever have or have seen anyone almost die to the Bed of Chaos before killing one of the rings. Hopefully that's not an indication of what's to come, because I hate this boss. And also, this is probably the most that I've died to the Bed of Chaos before killing the second ring. After killing the second ring, this basically was just a battle of willpower and RNG fishing. Like, I was dying a lot, like I think 20 times or so here, but it always felt possible because I was getting really close. Ooh, that was close. But I was able to make it finally, and I was able to get my second Lord Soul. Next up, I was going to fight the 4 Kings, but to do that, you need Sif's ring that you get from killing her. So it was time to kill the saddest boss in the series. She loyally waited here, defending her master's grave for who knows how long, only to eventually be confronted by a Discord mod. Is it weird to say I was rooting against myself here? I would like to say she gave the Discord mod trouble, but she simply didn't. My damage was just too high. I was able to kill her on the first try. I just can't do it. I have to point up on Seath. Okay, on to New Londo. This area was a little annoying just because the sheer number of ghosts is insane, and I died a couple times to this. It was obnoxious. But ultimately it was just a battle of patience because I was able to kill any of them in one hit. I don't have time for you. Give me the key to the seal. Even the Dark Wraiths were no match for my superior Discord mod intelligence. And that brings us to the Four Kings. And the Four Kings was one of the most brutal fights in this run. I have long since hit the soft cap for intelligence scaling, and they still just have so much health. They're able to tank so many of my crystal spells. And their attacks come out very quickly, so it's very difficult for a Discord mod to dodge their series of attacks that they have. And on top of that, the run back to get back to them is extremely obnoxious, so this was taking me hours at this point, and I wasn't even really getting close. So it was time for a new plan. I went back to Anor Londo and picked up Havel's armor. Now you might be wondering, with minus 33 endurance, how am I going to wear Havel's armor without being over-encumbered? And my answer to that is, I will simply be over-encumbered. There will be no rolling. I will be forced to tank every attack in this fight. Let's see if I can get it done. I do love the sight of Fat Havel. He's just so wide. What a unit. Oh my god, that worked so well. And I was able to heal up before the next one. This is like a cheat code or something. Look, I can even poise chug my Estus in order to heal while he's hitting me. Havel's armor is simply OP, and with this strategy I was able to easily defeat the Four Kings, who were giving me a lot of trouble before. Okay, final Lord Soul time. It was time to start making my way towards Nito. There's only room for one bald guy who hates clerics in this Lordran. Wow, they must have emptied out the dumpster from Planned Parenthood here. Look at all the baby skeletons. And as for Gravelord Nito, he's a pushover in most of the playthroughs that I do. By the time I get to him, I'm strong enough to just beat him into the ground. But as a Discord mod, it was certainly different. The skeletons were able to get bleed on me in one hit because I have no armor and no resistance. And that a scream attack that he does would give me toxic in one hit, so most of the time I was toxic for the whole fight. The skeletons made the fight very RNG dependent, and I couldn't use a holy weapon because it would be against the run in principle to use anything involving faith scaling. Oh, and running back to get back to Nito after you've died to him is one of the most brutal runbacks in the game, so what you're seeing in a few seconds was really costing me minutes each time. So yeah, Nito was extremely difficult and cost me many hours of my life trying to kill him, and it basically amounted to just RNG fishing. I don't think there was any strategy I could employ here that was going to help. But yeah, I eventually got good in RNG and I was able to kill him. After this, I had all 4 Lord Souls, and it was time to open the door to the Kiln of the First Flame and face Gwyn. But before that, Gwyn has one of the most difficult run-ups in the game for a Discord mod. the 5 black knights in your way that you could normally run past in a normal playthrough. The Discord mod is not nearly fast enough to run past them, and he has to kill them each time before he kills Gwyn. And it actually was possible to get past them with Oral Decoy, but this took longer than killing them, so I had to kill them every time, basically. This game really makes me grateful for the Stake of Marika mechanic in Elden Ring. That was such a good idea. Some of these runbacks are so bad. Anyway, back to Gwyn. He was excruciatingly difficult. He is much, much faster than a Discord mod. And I think the worst part about him is he's so fast to follow up on his attacks, which means my slow rolls would usually have me caught in a bad spot. As you can see, I could get a Crystal Soul Spear straight to his face if I managed to connect on a parry. But with my slower animations, the timing was much different than a normal playthrough. And it also made it such that some of his attacks that used to be parryable in a normal playthrough were not parryable here because you could not react quick enough. Here's a quick barrage of deaths to commemorate my pain. Eventually, it all came together. I was able to hit my parries, and I was able to take down Gwyn, Lord of Cinder, as a Discord mod. And I am somewhat shocked to say that it was easier here than it was in Elden Ring. The presence of spirit summons didn't help the moderator as much as I thought. And Ornstein and Smough were by far the hardest boss in this playthrough. They took me like probably 70 attempts, whereas the max of the other bosses was like 40-ish for. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and please click the like button if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you're new, and what do you think of challenge runs like this? I'd really like to know. Let me know in the comments down below. What game do you think I should do next for the Discord/Reddit moderator? Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.